Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens, and this is the greatest radio show in the history of the world. The Mark Thompson Show. It's in all the record books.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
If you're just hooking up with us, this is our premiere week as we shake down some of the technical stuff. Appreciate all the likes. You hit the like button on YouTube, the YouTube stream that you're watching. We'll be here from 10 to noon every day, and appreciate that. Helps us in the algorithms. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I've already accidentally blocked somebody who was one of our loyal listeners. I'm so sorry. I tried to unblock him. I think it was just a 5-minute thing, so I feel bad. We should send him something. How about that F-150? That, you know, the one that they're not sending those other.
You get
okay. Well, all right. That's just a thought. And you can also support us on Patreon. We're trying to keep the lights on here, so you can find our Patreon. Well, the show's on Patreon. You go to patreon.com and you just put in The Mark Thompson Show, and you can find it. So it's patreon.com/The Mark Thompson Show if you're doing it that way. Our new email address, and then I'll get to the Florida news, is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. And I'll mention what's coming up next week. We've got some good guests, and I'll get to those in a moment. But right now, I do want to get into Florida because we have a classic Florida story we thought we'd start with. And it was provided to us by our technical ninja, who is Tony. This is one of his favorite Florida stories from our history of Florida stories. The headline: a Florida man bites his brother's penis off after he walks in on his brother having sex with his cousin on his favorite Dragon Ball Z blanket, everybody. Yeah. What's going on there? Yeah. Guy was arrested. Apparently, he found his brother having sex with his cousin on this Dragon Ball Z blanket, and he bit off the man's penis. I didn't even think that was an easy thing to do.
Was he able to reattach?
Well,
yeah, but Mark, have you ever tried? I mean, don't knock it.
You're right. I haven't actually road tested it, but I just think it's a
wild idea.
Well, it's all right.
It's a wild idea.
All right, yes,
Like what?
it's a wild idea. You're right. Yes, it's a wild idea. He was arrested, my friends, and we're our Friday Fabulous Florida follow-up will follow that story, you'd think. But I would like to know what happened to him and to the men's private parts. In ugly development, but only in Florida, a dad gets into a road rage situation with another dad. Two crazy dads have been charged with attempted murder. They allegedly opened fire and hit each other's daughters in a road rage gun battle in Florida.
Oh, man.
Yep. William Hale, 35, and Frank Allison, 43, shot at each other's vehicles with semi-automatic handguns during a high-speed chase. They were finally busted when they got out and started brawling on the highway, according to cops. During the gun battle, Hale's 5-year-old daughter was hit in the leg. Allison's 14-year-old daughter was shot in the back. She ended up with a collapsed lung.
Oh, no.
No one was killed in the incident, they said, thankfully, but it could very easily have turned out that way, say the cops, of course. Callers called in this bizarre scene as they were shooting each other on the freeway.
What can you tell us about that scene?
Yeah, what can you tell us about the scene?
What can you tell us about the scene?
Multiple 911 calls, reports of people being shot at. This is, for those who listen in Florida, we do have some Florida listeners.
Sounds like
1.
two men were too stupid to have kids.
Well, that's the thing about having kids. You don't really need there's no IQ test. Highway 1 near Callahan in suburban Jacksonville.
Oh, I know where that's at.
Where is that, John?
It's about 2.5 miles from Whole Foods.
Oh, there you go. At one point, Hale pulled his Dodge along the Nissan that he was shooting at and started shooting. Then there was the middle finger, then the exchange, and the rest is under arrest, and the two kids are in the hospital. Hurricane Ian actually yielded a couple of bizarre Florida stories. Do you want a heartwarming story, Kim? I feel like you would like something heartwarming.
After that, could you please? Yeah.
A Florida woman has found her lost wedding ring in the storm debris. Isn't that nice?
Is there a gator in there?
A Florida woman. That's right. And when she reached in to get it, a gator chopped her arm. That's what you expect.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
A Florida woman who lost her wedding ring before Hurricane Ian hit, found it among the storm debris. Ashley Garner is her name. She'd given up on ever seeing her wedding ring again. She lost it outside her home in Fort Myers days before Ian hit the coast. So she'd already lost the wedding ring. She'd looked for it. She got her 3 young children to help search for it. They couldn't find it. Ian hits, and now they're just sifting through the debris of their home.
Mother Nature is like, I got this.
Yeah, apparently, hold my Mother Nature beer. And they looked around the yard and garage for 2 days, no sign of the ring. But then in sifting through their personal belongings damaged by Ian, they found her wedding ring in a pile of brush and trees. Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
My dad lost their wedding ring, the wedding ring that my mom got him, because it was sized a little too big for his hand, but he didn't want to take it off on their honeymoon because he thought it would be, misinterpreted or whatever. There was a lot of sentiment, obviously, in a wedding ring. That's the reason that wedding ring story is important. But anyway, he goes to swim, and of course the water is cold, and so his finger gets even smaller. So now this oversized ring is barely on his hand, and what happens? It falls off
in the ocean.
Yeah, this is on their honeymoon. And so my dad's in a panic. He goes in. They said, "Oh, well, there's no finding it, sir. You're done. I mean, it's pretty much over. Isn't there a way we can get divers or something?" And they kind of just said, "Yeah, come on. You can wait for a hurricane. Maybe it'll turn up."
It's crazy. My dad never wore his wedding ring because he was an electrician, which is awfully convenient.
Oh, right. Oh, that's great. That really is great. A Florida man is charged for dropping off his rental car with the granddaughter still in the back seat. That's right.
No.
Yeah. He
got a lot of things to keep track of.
He forgot his 1-year-old granddaughter was in the back seat when he dropped off his rental car.
How do you even do that? When you turn in a rental car, don't you walk around, make sure everything's okay? You filled up the gas tank. You take one last look under the seats to make sure you didn't leave anything behind.
Not at that age. You're like, whatever.
How do you leave a kid behind?
Get it.
You don't get it, Kim, because what he was doing was trying to get rid of the kid. In fact, he was, I think it was more than carelessness. Because
at a certain age, aren't you like, here, you take this?
No, David Towner, 62, had been babysitting his granddaughter for the day. He dropped off the car at the Daytona Beach International Airport and was picked up by his daughter. The child was in the car for almost an hour before being found by a worker at the Hertz rental car facility.
Oh, God.
On their way back to the house, the daughter asked about the baby. He told her the child was at his home with his roommate. See?
No, he never gets to babysit again. Maybe that's Matt. That was his whole point. Maybe that's what he was going for.
You're thinking about taking away his babysitting privileges? Is that what you're saying?
Never again. He doesn't ever get it again. No.
An employee with the rental company checked the car, found the girl in the back seat, and deputies met the employee carrying the child. Child's face was warm, streaked with dried tears, but she was breathing normally. Yeah, it's kind of intense.
Maybe this was his strategy to get out of babysitting.
I think it's a wild
idea. Just might work.
Who are we going to let babysit? Oh, not Grandpa Joe.
They arrested him for neglect and child abuse charges. Actually,
poor sweetheart.
The other Hurricane Ian story that I wanted to share with you comes out of Tampa. A guy survived Hurricane Ian's landfall and these raging floodwaters by hiding in the refrigerator. Now, the refrigerator, you're supposed to...
Yeah, that is a wild idea.
Well, it did work for him, but you're really not supposed to, refrigerators, you can end up suffocating. And a lot of people, kids, it happens all the time. They get in these, refrigerators that they find in a dump or whatever, and they, you find them a year later or whatever. But he said, I opened it up, I jumped in, and the water just raised and raised and raised to my chest. So he's in the refrigerator as the floodwaters are rising.
No.
Yeah, that's like a split-second decision thing, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm out of the refrigerator. When the water starts rising, then there's no way you can get out, right? I mean, you're locked into a box that could fill with water. That's horrifying.
Sure does seem that way. Maybe he kept it, open a little bit. It takes me floating, he says, and then it's like, boom, hit the ceiling, and I'm like, oh, God, I'm done.
Yeah.
My living room, my couch, my TV, tables, he said, all gone. Ceilings are gone. Everything's gone from the hurricane. But he's okay. He says, and this, Kim, I mean, he was inventive at the moment, that the fridge saved his life. No kidding. He said, I was inside the fridge. If that fridge wasn't there, I'd be dead for sure.
That's like one of those situations where you're like handcuffed to the pipe and the water's rising, and you're panicking and you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right.
Saying the refrigerator floated? Because I thought refrigerators would sink.
No, they're filled with foam. I mean, I think you have a better chance compared to instantly drowning.
I think rather than getting in it, I might ride it. Like a little piece of driftwood, a floating fridge, maybe, perhaps. I don't know.
I mean,
John Smith texting, turn the fridge into a boat. Right, I agree.
Well,
if it's open, it's going to sink real fast.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it...
You do not know what...
I like how Kim's trying to criticize this guy who, in a panic, did whatever he could do to survive. You did it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
It worked. In Florida, student athletes are being asked to report their menstrual history. Can you imagine?
Oh. Yeah, no. You know what? We're never doing that again, because now we know that you're after our rights. So screw it.
Yeah, what they do is they put it in a bunch of other questions about health. So they have the questions here. Do you have any chronic illnesses? Do you have asthma? Have you broken any bones or dislocated any joints? Have you ever had chest pain during or after exercise?
Yeah, you know what I have for you? I'll answer this question. I have my middle finger for you, pal. That's what I have.
And then for female athletes, it was, when was your first menstrual period? When was your most recent? How much time do you have? Do you usually have from the start of one period to the start of another? They asked those questions in Florida.
Yeah.
Along with, do you like candy?
Those are Florida athletes being asked those questions. And finally, in the area of health in Florida, Florida's Surgeon General has now posted on COVID-19 vaccines. And vaccine experts are pushing back on the analysis that was posted by the Florida Surgeon General. The Florida Surgeon General warned that COVID-19 vaccines increase the risk of cardiac-related deaths in young men. But those who are vaccine experts say those studies that indicate that are poorly designed and dangerously misleading. The warning against vaccines from Dr. Joseph Ladapo is the latest move by the state Surgeon General and his boss, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, that casts doubt on scientific consensus. So the experts associated with vaccines and those who are charged with getting the word out, we'll call them vaccine experts, they're pushing back hard. And they're saying that all of this research that indicates this is spotty and poor. It's much more of a political stunt than it has anything to do with science or protecting the population of the people of Florida, they say. They cherry pick the risks, they cherry pick the benefits. There you have it. A look at the world of Florida. And we have to pick a favorite. Well, don't we play the close for? Yeah.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Before I ask for a favorite, I'd like to read some comments. You can comment on the YouTube
Why don't you
line.
just text it?
You can text comments in. I wear a silicone wedding ring. I outgrew my white gold ring, and it had large years ago. Then I lost weight and shrunk out of it. That's from C. Baresi. Abby says, don't wear my wedding ring because, or maybe it's A-B, I don't know. A-B-E-Y. I don't wear my wedding ring because I'm a truck driver. Wait a minute, why would that preclude you from wearing the wedding ring? Or you just want to keep your options open while you're on the road?
It might get stolen at that truck stop down in LA.
Yeah, where that jewelry heist went down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, kids don't die in fridges anymore since doors don't latch now. Laura. Oh, sorry.
That's not fake.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, sorry about it. I guess the getting caught in fridge is an old reference. John, that is a moment in Titanic that she was talking about. Karen is saying. Is that what you were referencing, a moment in Titanic?
No, it's just, you have to make a split-second decision as everyone's, panicking.
If you're just joining us, somebody survived Hurricane Ian from hiding in a refrigerator. And Kim was basically saying, that makes no sense. And how can you do that? And you'll get trapped.
Yeah, there was that scene when they were trying to get out and there was like a gate and the evil employees were locking them in.
Yeah. Yeah. The poor people were being locked down below while the rich people
were Irish people.
Yeah, that's right. It was. The fridge will float, says John.
That's good knowledge. I had no idea.
Another John.
There is styrofoam insulation all around the interior, just as been indicated by fabulous producer John Daly. That's very impressive.
I'm still not getting inside of it, especially if the water's chest level. There's no way. I'll sit on top of it and float down the street, but I'm not getting in there.
Well, until you hit the ceiling and then fall into the water.
Well, that's fine. Yeah. I'll take my chances.
All right. I mean, that's good to know for the next hurricane. Don't bring a refrigerator around.
We'll miss you, Kim.
Yeah.
All right.
Here they are. You have to pick a favorite. Again, we have the Friday Fabulous Florida classic. Florida man bites his brother's penis off after he walks in on his brother having sex with his cousin on his favorite Dragon Ball Z blanket. Dads shooting each other in a Florida road rage gunfight hit both of their daughters. Hurricane Ian, a Florida woman finds her lost wedding ring in the storm debris. A Florida man survives the storm by hiding in the refrigerator. A Florida dude charged with dropping off the rental car with the granddaughter still in the back seat. Florida athletes being asked to report their menstrual history, and scientists pushing back on the Florida Surgeon General and the vaccines. I ask you to pick a favorite. Fabulous producer John Daly.
I'm going with penis chomp.
Fabulous producer John Daly.
What do you say, Kim?
A lot of texters are agreeing with John on the penis thing, but I have to go the penis thing. I have to go with the refrigerator because I've learned a lot today about refrigerators floating, and I think that's valuable knowledge. So I'm going with fridge.
Well, I will tell you that the warmth of the story that involved the lady finding her wedding ring after Hurricane Ian, that touched me. And so that's the one I choose as my favorite. Exactly.
Thanks to engineer Tony sending in the penis chomp story.
Yes, that's right. A shout out to, we call him Chris because that's the only drop we have.
Chris, thank you.
Yeah, all right, but it's actually Tony.